Welcome on Facebook world. Welcome everybody here. We're so happy. It's Co-Creators Convergence, Thursday night conversations. It is May 13th, and we're going to share a little clip about Co-Creators Convergence. Co-Creators Convergence is, if you noticed in there, a legacy to Barbara Marx Hubbard. And she asks this question: what are your gifts? What are you doing to add to the evolution of humanity? And that is why we're here every Thursday night. And we like to share, to converse, and to really embody each other's gifts. So I'm going to turn it over to Patrick Heffernan so that he can introduce Shawna, our guest this evening.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick, and Karen is my mom. And I was featured as a conversationalist in this group probably about a month or two ago. And so now I have the honor of not only nominating the next conversationalist, which Shawna has graciously accepted, but also introducing Shawna and her presentation tonight. So Shawna and I have probably been in each other's physical presence less than the amount of times that I can count on one hand. We've been teaching at the same, or we taught at the same yoga studio, Mind, Body, Soul in Washington Heights in New York City for a number of years, but never crossed paths for whatever reason. And about maybe 2 or 3 weeks or less even before the pandemic happened last year, I checked the schedule at the yoga studio, which is more or less across the street from my house. And I said, oh, that teacher Shawna is teaching in like 10 minutes. I could probably run out my apartment and like grab a spot in the class. And because I could take a class there because I teach, and everyone always says great things about her class. I guess this'll do it. And I just had a moment that I'm coming more and more to describe as velocity of relationship, where really within seconds of my being in Shawna's physical presence, I felt a deep connection. And yoga means union. And so you can kind of see how connection and union are similar to one another. They're almost synonyms in a way, right? To connect and to unite. And I think it's really, Shawna must know her offering and what she does well, in that she entitled this conversation around embodiment. Because if I had to describe Shawna to somebody, I would describe her really as a walking, breathing, living embodiment of all the things that I believe and hold dear to my heart that are yoga. I have witnessed Shawna as an embodiment of truth and authenticity and courage and compassion and spirit and creativity and curiosity. and willingness and collaboration. And what's really amazing to me about that is I've witnessed this embodiment so much so that I've more or less chosen to go into business with her a little bit. But also, I've not been in her physical presence more than 5 times in my entire life, and yet I know deep down in my bones that she is, or at least I feel deep down in my bones that she is an embodiment of all of these truths that I hold so dear to my own heart. And I said to myself that day in the yoga class, as soon as she finished teaching, I said, well, this is either my new teacher or my new best friend. And I really feel so fortunate to say that she has been really both to me over this course of this last year, and I know will continue in the future. So with that being said, I want to introduce the amazing Shawna Emerick.
Thanks, Megan, for in the chat she wrote body wisdom, and that's so true. And yeah, thank you, Patrick, and thank you all again for being here. It means a lot to me. I feel it in my body, and it's more than I can express through words. And sometimes words fall short of what we can actually express more from our body. So yeah. And we are in business together, Patrick and I. We run monthly immersions together now, and I look forward to so much more. So a little overview is from here on out is I'd love to do a quick round of introductions. Just again, you don't have to take your camera off. You can even write your name in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself, but just your name and 2 wheres, where you are physically and where you are, meaning what are you feeling in yourself, your body. So after intros, I'm gonna talk for a little while, but I want and have an intention of this evening to also be experiential for you. So you don't need any props. There's going to be movement after talk and discussion, but I do invite you to have a pencil or a pen and a paper, because after a certain portion of the movement, I'm going to leave a little time for you to write down, integrate, process, make note of from some prompts from myself. And then hopefully we'll have time left after that to option to share from your experiences. So with all of that, that's the sort of overview that I envision. And I want to remind you all that all is by invitation. So when you hear sharing, you don't have to share, you don't have to speak. It's what you're comfortable with. And yeah, so I'd love to do, again, just your name, where you are physically as you're calling in this evening, and where you are in 1 to 3 words. What are you feeling in your body? So I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll just leave the floor open so you can, as my friend says, popcorn style, you can unmute yourself, or like I said, if you're more comfortable to write in the chat, you're welcome to do so there. So my name is Shawna, and I am coming from Inwood, New York City. And where I'm at is excited, nervous, and open.
My name is Megan, and I'm currently visiting my mom in Florida. And how I feel in my body is a sense of relief and hope.
Hey everyone, I'm Ramona in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm feeling a little antsy, a little in need of a stretch, and very interested in what's happening.
Hello, I'm Jane Hobbs. I'm in Middletown, Ohio. I'm Shawna's mom, and I'm anxious to see what happens.
Hello, I'm going to introduce Bob and Noelle from the chat here. Noelle in Bristol, Tennessee, and they have a guest that just arrived, so they are welcoming her and Bob as well, all in Bristol, Tennessee. My name is Karen. I am in Maui. My physical body is in a tremendous amount of pain, and my heart and soul are feather light and in joy.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Alisa, and I was invited to the call. This is my first call by my dear sister, Karen. I'm in Tucson. She's been talking about this call, so I am actually filled with a childlike giddy right now. I'm so excited and curious to see how this is going to move forward. And I'm recovering from a bit of a back issue, just old sports injuries, and it's miraculous how fabulous it feels right now. So thank you already.
Hi, everybody. I'm Olivia from Massachusetts and Vermont sometimes. I'm recovering from an illness, and I'm grateful to be here. I'm curious, and I'm hopeful.
My name is Jocasta, and I am in Summit, New York State right now. And where I'm at right now, I feel like my body's digesting something and is stumbling upon some indigestion, not a physical food per se, but, you know, and energetically, all of it. And towards that regard, I'm just open and allowing for whatever needs to be processed to complete its process.
I'm Patrick. I'm in Washington Heights in New York City, and I am present and grateful.
I'm Lisa Shad, and I live in Mentone, Alabama, which is about 45 minutes south of Chattanooga. And I'm so excited to meet so many new people and to connect with Bob and Noelle, and I'm just really excited. I'm excited to move. I've been sitting all day.
My name is Rita, and I'm from Trotwood, Ohio. I've known Shawna for several years now. Her dad is been a real part of my journey of life for many years. I come today with a bit of a heavy heart, but very curious, and so I'm glad to be here.
Thank you all. I think that was everybody. Yeah. So I'm going to invite you just to a little brief centering. So find a comfortable physical positioning of your body. It could be lying down, it could be seated. If you're needing the movement, maybe your comfort is actually some sort of consistent little moving, and that's okay too. You know, for movement parts, if you feel more comfortable to turn screen off and then during conversation, turn screen on, you know, it can be a hybrid of that. So option to close your eyes, option to have a soft gaze with a little bit of heavy eyelids. I invite you into a brief moment of stillness, noticing your breath. Noticing how your breath moves within your body, even beyond just the lungs. How are you experiencing that in your body? And there's no one answer or right or wrong answer here. It could be an answer of another question. So we notice to notice, and just that. We feel to feel, and just that. No expectation, no judgment. Just open observation and being a participant in the observing. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths. Perhaps you know certain parts of your body that tend to hold more tension than other parts. Breathe to those places first. Invite them to ease up a bit, to release the grasp, to surrender, to let go. Allow that energy to then disperse throughout all other parts of your body. Enter into this, what I call sacred pause, where you get to feel exactly how you feel in your body, in your emotions, feeling what you feel through your thoughts, your psyche, noticing what your experience might be even in your soul and spirit. A sacred pause to feel what you feel, to notice what you notice. Letting your breath become natural, whatever natural feels like for you. Organic, easeful, a way of breathing where you almost don't even have to think about it anymore, but you can keep feeling. And notice what you notice right now, after even these brief moments of sacred pause. Has anything shifted without expecting or needing that anything need to have shifted, but just noticing if anything has? And if so, in what way? What's different, if anything? And then in the next couple of breaths, when you feel ready, I invite you back, easefully, slowly at your own pace, back into circle. And you can stay lying down if you'd like, because I'm going to move into a little bit of talking. And at any point, if there is a question, please feel free to speak it into the space or write it in the chat. And I'll do my best to keep watch of the chat. It pops up, so that hopefully will be easeful. And in a way, I was thinking how I don't really need to teach this, because you already do it. Whether you know it or not, you live an embodied life. And it was really funny, just before coming on, I asked my husband for a hug, and I said, I'm really excited and nervous about tonight. And I told him for the first time what it was all about. And he's like, aren't I already doing it? I mean, like, do I have a choice? Because he said, I live in my body. I was like, but this is an interesting question, and I'm actually going to bring this into the space. Do you have a choice? And you do, in my opinion. You have a choice to become more embodied by becoming more conscious about what you are listening to from your body, from your emotions. And just that coined term that I use in my classes, sacred pause, is one way of connecting and listening and choosing to move from a place of what you feel, what you notice within yourself, which is the very definition of embodiment is a tangible or visible form of an idea, quality, or feeling. And I'll say that again, because I'm not a techie and I don't share screens, etc. So thank you for that. Embodiment is a tangible or visible form of an idea, quality, or feeling. And to me, to become embodied is an inner journey that's bringing an emotion or idea into the tangible. Oh, thanks, Patrick. He put it in the chat so fast. So to become even more embodied, because to hear tangible and visible, I think more structural and real, but to live a more embodied life to me is more nuanced and more subtle. And this brings me right into the very fact that we are, and welcome, Linda. Yeah, thank you. We're just getting started after centering. Thanks, Karen. That we are all energy. We are all this life force. In yoga, we call it prana. In other practices, chi or ki, or if you're a Star Wars fan, the Force. So we are energy. We are this life force, and it's all around us and it's in us. It's our emotions as well, which emotions sometimes can feel tangible because we feel a tingling in our body, or we feel our heart racing faster, or our breath getting shorter. So all of this energy carries charge. Charge is energy. There's heightened charge and lower charges, positive charges, negative charges. And our bodies have the ability to receive, retain, and also release these charges. And I often talk, because I am a yoga instructor and I've been doing a lot of studying under a woman by the name of Anodea Judith, who is a psychologist, but also yoga person, and honing in on what in yoga we call the system of the chakras. Chakra meaning wheel or vortex of these life energy forces that are housed within our physical body and correlate with so many different aspects of psychology, emotions, rights, elements, etc. So why I'm speaking to all of that is because if you've ever heard the term, oh, I'm going to go have my chakras balanced, or I want to align my chakras, you have the ability to do that because you are that energy. You are that life force, and your body is wise. Another reason why I'm thankful to Megan, who wrote Body Wisdom in the chat earlier, because your body is wise. And thinking back to my husband, the choice to listen to your body rather than to negate it or push it away or push it down or numb it out through use of other things, that becomes choice. So yeah, I've already said kind of a lot. I wrote down everything because I often go off on tangents and just kind of let things come through. And this is another way of embodiment, is just being channel for this energy. So we can feel it from the inside out, and we can experience it through intuition and those insights. And it might come in a physical way. And now I'm going off on another tangent, and then I'll create a little pause if anybody has questions or comments. It can come in the way these intuitions or these charges or these feelings or expressions of life force within us, in our, the gut instinct. We can feel it in our body, but sometimes we experience it around us, or we might notice something, or it might pop into our consciousness unexpectedly, or, oh, all of a sudden I catch myself singing a song. Why is that song there all of a sudden? Maybe there's meaning. So one important aspect that, I feel as an important aspect of embodiment is when we notice these things within our body, in this sacred temple container of this energy, this life force, One, and I'm kind of fluctuating with the questions of the subtitle of this evening. Why might living a more embodied life be beneficial? And one of the reasons that I'm leading towards right now is trust. So when I feel something in my heart or my gut, or as an example, the moment I went in to pay for a week program that I've been dying to take, I felt it in my body. I was so excited. I was tingling and I hadn't even pressed purchase yet. And that to me, I took a sacred pause and I was like, whoa, look at this. This means something. And maybe you've experienced that in your life at one time or another, or to the opposite end of the scale, right? When something comes along and you're like, I'm not so sure about that. What is this feeling that I'm having? Why does it feel wonky, wobbly, any adjective you might use to describe it there? Why am I so uncertain or unsure? And that's opportunity, that insight, that message from your body is opportunity to take sacred pause and say, okay, let me feel into it a little bit more deeply. Where is this coming from? And exploring through many different avenues and questioning. So I find that as an important piece because trusting our body's wisdom can be developed through living a more embodied life, trusting our body's wisdom. And I've had moments in my life, and maybe you have as well, where I wasn't sure, but then I was also second guessing myself. And most oftentimes, at least for me, speaking only for myself, is because I didn't give myself the sacred pause. I didn't give myself time to actually feel into the why or the where or the uncertainty, or to give myself enough time to get the clarity. To feel the good resonance. And this leads to another why, and then maybe I'll leave the pause is getting that clarity, having taken that pause to receive such clarity, to live an embodied life can also lead us to better decision making. And that can become really important. I feel that in our modern day world at this point, there is the go, go, go mentality. We have a lot of distraction. We have a lot of expectation. And there is a lot of talk, at least in the wellness world that I work in, about slowing down, about needing to take time, about needing to self-care and self-love. And those are all beautiful embodiment practices in whatever way, shape, or form they take for you that serves you to your higher goodness and purpose and well-being, from physical to spiritual and all areas of being in between. Yeah, so I'm gonna take a pause and kind of leave this open to anything that's come up for you. I think somebody, Karen, wrote something in the chat. Trusting our body's wisdom can be developed by living an embodied life. Thank you for writing that. Yeah, so any insights, anything that's resonating for you, comments or questions, before I just take a look at my notes, and then we can get into some embodiment. And welcome, Jim and Sheila. Go ahead. Yeah, you can, Ramona.
Okay. Well, two things. I mean, I love the sacred pause. I love that awareness as a cue to, slow down and kind of you know, sort of feel what's going on. And also just in terms of embodiment, I think you're right. I think it is a choice. We're always in our bodies, but we really do need to pay attention. I was just talking with a client right before this who had just made a big decision, and she said, I felt the weight come off my shoulders. And I said to her, yeah, it really does, doesn't it? You really feel it come off your shoulders, you know, so we contain our issues in our body.
Mm. Thanks for speaking to that, because leading up to tonight, there's so many different avenues that one could talk about embodiment. And for me, I appreciate that share and appreciate your client, because it speaks to things like, you know, what about trauma? What about, you know, I was gonna ask you all, like, in what ways do you experience your body? Was one question. And what's affected your body? So some things that I wrote down as, you know, ways we can experience our bodies through our senses. It's through massage, it's through receiving healing energy practices, but we might experience our body in emotional ways. And what's affected your body, or maybe affected your embodiment, could be gender identity, race, generational experiences that have translated. And there's a lot of books out now that are, at least I'm not a psychologist, but I feel like in the psychological world, we're seeing more of opening to connecting body mind. There's, I forget his name in the book, who speaks to that generational carrying on. And Karen and Yocasta are already putting it in the chat. Thank you. Yeah. The Body Keeps the Score by Vander Kolk. Your Body Speaks Your Mind by Deb Shapiro. Resma Menakem, My Grandmother's Hands. These are all wonderful books. And Anodea Judith has Charge and the Energy Body, which I have here in front of me. And Livia Shapiro, if any, just the Somatic Therapy Workbook, which is such a tangible, easily accessible, digestible, thinking of Yocasta and digestion, digestible book to go through, move yourself through some of the experiences that she suggests. Yeah, and physical trauma. I'm thinking also in environments, experiencing my body through dance since I was a child. Yocasta, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and if you were, so in what ways do you experience your body? What's affected your body were some of the questions that I was going to bring into the space, but I kind of, thank you. I'm going to leave it open again for any other insights or questions, just so we can have experience time.
Shawna, I'd be interested in, throughout the time here, any thoughts on this? So in my body right now, I'm carrying a significant amount of pain in my lower back, something I've had in the past. And, you know, when I can't bend over to pick up a feather. And yesterday I had a hypnotherapy experience for an hour, and 5 minutes in until 5 minutes after, the pain was absolutely gone. I was very much aware of that, very aware, asking to carry that through, let my physical body catch up. I didn't have to step out of there with the pain. However, that wasn't as successful as I'd hoped it would be. So I'm still in the pain today. So I just find it interesting, because we are capable, absolutely, I mean, zero pain for an hour and 25 minutes. So that's just a thought I'm tossing out there for really anybody in this conversation as we continue through the evening.
No, this is a really great thing that you've brought up. There's a book called Breaking Through Pain, and I forget the author, which is a book on meditation with chronic pain and the correlation. And, that is something else that, consciousness and our thoughts are also energy. So I mean, if you ever talk about manifesting, we talk about mantra and like thinking and always moving our thoughts towards what we hope to manifest. That's why I feel like embodiment is, to me, sometimes the inner journey of bringing that into the visible and tangible. So I'm using the energy of my consciousness. I'm using the energy of my heart and my mind and my body. But you also bring up a good aspect that as I talk to various practitioners throughout my life, from body workers to chiropractors to physical therapists to energy workers, etc., I personally, when I'm doing Thai body work and something comes up for the client and we have conversation afterwards that's very emotional, no matter what it's around, I personally am trying to intuit, but also inviting the person to intuit within themselves. Is this something that's psychological? Is it something that is just perhaps physical? And bridging the spaces, not getting too attached to one aspect of approaching the healing, but inviting all aspects of whole person healing. So like with low back, let's just say sacrum, this is sacral chakra. And we could talk about how this is the home of emotions, sexuality, pleasure, desire, the shadow side of guilt, and things of that nature. So, we could take it from that aspect, but we can also simultaneously, as I believe in, also personally making sure that there's not also a physical injury, like a tear or something of that nature. But having the knowledge and the reminder that there's a whole realm in which we can address our pain, whether it's a physical pain or an emotional pain or a heart's pain. So thank you for speaking to that.
Can I add something to that, Shawna?
Yeah.
This is Linda.
Linda, there you are.
Yeah, here I am. So one of the things that I find really interesting is when I work with clients and we talk about pain, I'm an art therapist, and so I have them to draw it or to represent it with line, color, or shape, and to dialogue with it. And so there's that bridge between the physical body and the manifestation of whatever it is, and the experience of the other side of the brain to express the message that's been intended, or whatever it is that the body wants to communicate. Because I often feel like it's always emotionally based. I mean, no matter whether it's a physical pain or a, if it's manifesting in a physical way or if it's manifesting in an emotional way, it's almost always got an emotional basis to it. And so it's a question of acknowledging, it's a question of just allowing the body to communicate with words so that we understand, or a feeling, or a way of, oftentimes I feel like we don't listen to our bodies. And when we do have pain, it's the body trying to speak to us and tell us something, but we're not paying attention. And so it's like, okay, are you going to listen, or do I have to hit you with a cosmic 2x4? So, that's that's been some of my experience with physical pain. And it's been amazing how when I talk to that lower back and I say, okay, what's going on and what do you want me to understand? It will tell me. And it will tell me what it wants me to do in order to help it to heal or to acknowledge it. So I thought I'd just add that as a possible way of responding to one's body's pain.
Yeah. I thank you so much, Linda. I'm really grateful that, and how it comes out. We might serve our body best by trying different things: art therapy, dance therapy, talk therapy, psychotherapy, etc. Like, and you speak to something that's also very powerful with emotions is, you know, sometimes it is the subconscious making its way through, and then it becomes conscious. So this is Anodea Judith. She has an acronym for CHARGE, and she writes it as consciousness having a really genuine experience. Consciousness having a really genuine experience. And but thank you, Linda, again, because it just brings me back to that sacred pause where it's like, if I haven't given time to be hearing, listening, there goes my son, then I might not have given the opportunity for that to come through, which I can help serve and heal. Or to give it voice, or to give it space, and all of this leads to the transformation, right? All of this can lead to our own, and this is something that I was just so excited about thinking about tonight, and I end up writing these things down, is that so Anodea Judith talks about appropriate management of charge is essential to be what she calls successful in life. I like also like mastering over these things, because sometimes success can hold a negative connotation on the other side, like you either succeed or you fail. Anyway, I wrote, appropriate management of our charge is to use it to nourish ourselves, and this is the work of healing. And what I mean by that is that no matter what the charge is, no matter if what's coming up feels hard, scary, painful, or whether it feels joyful, we feel ecstatic, happy, peaceful, just like heart-filled. All of these charges have learning for us, and we grow from them. And that takes courage. It takes courage to be willing to feel all of it, and to take a look at it, and to give it space and time. And I think you use the term acknowledgement, our ability to look and listen.
I think that that's such an important part, is that, you know, our body is always communicating with us, whether we are willing to acknowledge it or what it is that's trying to be communicated. It is always communicating on a constant basis, and most of the time we ignore it, and we push it away, we discount it, we don't give it the space. And I think that is the most important element, is that giving it space. That sacred pause is so crucial to us taking a breath or taking a moment, or I think what you were talking about before, about just slowing down. We think we have to go on high speed, and it's like, no, You don't have to do that. You can just take a breath. You can take a moment. You can, in fact, if you don't take a moment, it will probably come back and bite you on the butt. But that's kind of another place. So, I mean, I think it's really important that we that we pay attention to what our bodies are saying.
Yeah. And I in the beginning, I don't remember if you were here yet or not, I talked about how the charge, like we can receive it, we can retain it also, and we can discharge it. So like remembering that you have the ability to do all of that. I hope for each of you to feel more empowered by that knowledge, that you have the ability to heal yourself, in essence, to create the transformation, the change.
Yeah.
And you can heal the path to your own liberation, freedom, whatever word resonates with you there.
I think we're the only ones that can heal it.
You know, I wrote that down. I wrote, it doesn't depend on anyone else. It can't be created or done by anyone else, though it's beneficial to receive help and support.
Well, I think that we oftentimes need guidance or remembering or help remembering that we actually do know what we need.
Yes.
We don't pay attention to it. And sometimes we need someone outside of us to say, hey, you know, tap us on the shoulder and remind us what we already know. Because most of us, we just need to hear it a few times.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of like, oh yeah, I know that. Because it's
And
not
that,
I don't know. But
that's my goal with the, lack of better term, life coaching that I do, that I'm moving into more somatic therapies now, is that I don't want you to be my client forever, because I want these practices to become your practices. So you can become your own coach, if you will. You can become that. And I believe this about each of us here, you know, tonight, that we are that for ourselves. And I feel like all of you here tonight are that person for other people at any given time. The reminders and the rememberers, like to remember. And I love that word, remember, because you're a member. Go ahead, Olivia. Sorry.
I'd like to jump in here because I hear my teacher, Moshe Feldenkrais. He was teaching us to be our own teacher. And the way that he was teaching us, and the way that, which I think is so profound, what you're saying, Linda, and that was what I was struck by in the very beginning, Shawna, when you said sacred pause. Because what Moshe is teaching, and which was very revolutionary when he came on the scene in the, you know, early part of the 20th century, with some of the great somatic thought leaders and body leaders, body-mind leaders, was that the brain works that way, that when we are going too fast, we actually aren't giving our brain a chance to rewire itself in the way that we want to. So when you do awareness through movement, which is one of the things that we teach with the Feldenkrais method, you're on the floor, on the chair, or walking, or whatever it is you're doing, but you're doing movements with the least amount of effort, finding the least amount of effort, which is so counter to our culture. So you can listen from the inside out, and you can, without judgment, which is not always easy, say, oh my gosh, I really have to turn my head like that. You know, can I turn my head like this? You know, just that little thing. And then what you do is you pause after you've done some repetitive movements, very gently, very slowly. And then you can speed it up if you want. You can play around with it, but it's that pause. And I remember that when I was an overachiever, Um, I was a therapist, I was a massage therapist, I was a body-oriented therapist, I was everything, psychologist. And what I wanted when I thought, you know, I understood what the Feldenkrais method was, I thought it was exercises. And I thought I could teach people to be that, you know, that it would sort of get them off my back, depending on me. And that I could have something in my toolkit. I'm sure, you know, those of us that are therapists, teachers, whatever, you know, it's always good to have another trick, right? And it totally blew my mind when I took my first Feldenkrais class, because I couldn't name it. I couldn't explain it. It was so embodied. And I was so embodied for the first time in my life that I had to train with this man, you know, and at the time I was doing my doctorate at Harvard and everything. It was crazy, but I had to do this because I'd never been in touch with my body before. And Linda, it was talking to me. I was finally not interrupting it. I was finally giving it space. And I think that sacred pause is so important for our brain too. You know, it's the way our brain works.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you started this by that sacred pause, because that's what I learned to do when I was ill, you know, because I didn't want to be ill. I said, I don't have time to be ill, you know. I don't have time for COVID. But it was really interesting how I had to really take a page out of my own book after all these years of teaching.
Yeah.
And coming out the other side it's quite amazing. You know, I'm not the same person in a good way, I think. I hope.
Yeah,
That's
thank
my
you
hope.
for all of that. And I loved hearing that about Feldenkrais. And it's something that, you know, and so succinctly, Jim has written in the chat about top down. And
Yeah.
I've come from a bottom up background with a degree in dance and et cetera. So if you're unfamiliar with top down versus bottom up, top down is more thought process, moving down into the physical body. Bottom up is more like physical body moving up into mind. But this is why I might go into a mental health degree in the next year or two, or I might go in the Phoenix Rising yoga therapy path. I'm not sure yet, or maybe a hybrid of something. But those neural pathways and that rewiring are neural pathways, and neuropsychology are highly fascinating to me because of that ability that we now are learning through research, that we have that ability to change our neural pathways and the plasticity and the et cetera of the brain. And it's all connected. And I'm loving this discussion. And welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here. I want to leave time for experiencing too. Jim, did you have a question inside your comment about acute versus chronic, or did you want to share anything? You don't have to speak if you don't want to. There's just a lot of good stuff in your comment.
Well, that's why I wrote it down in a comment, because
Okay.
it's too easy, you know, in a matter of like this, you know, there's all kinds of brilliant people sharing stuff, and we could go on for hours with that. So I just wanted to throw that out there right off the top. And any, like, I guess, top down, bottom up. What I discovered was top down means the spiritual top that comes down through all the things and it hits our bodies last. And when we're physically in pain, we have a tendency to go directly to the physical pain without looking back to see, where did it come from? Am I responsible for an emotional problem that's plaguing me, or a spiritual problem, psychological, all of those? But most people don't take the holistic perspective of looking through all those layers and go to a different therapist on all of those levels to get the big picture. Because as you know, if we don't do that, the reason that say pain and suffering happens is because we earned it. You know, it's like, it's not a bad thing. It's it's a teacher. Pain and suffering can be our teacher. And I mentioned that COVID forced us to slow down and take pause. It's right in line with what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
And I wrote a poem that about COVID that I've never published because a year ago, because I didn't want to offend anybody. And it's a little bit is COVID's a virus that came here to inspire us and then require us to take change by the hand, like I know we can. And it ends with, I'm no prankster, I'm your spiritual gangster. And the chorus is, raise a glass to Corona beer again, you know, when we're celebrating. And that's one of the parts of it that I didn't want people to think that Corona beer and coronavirus were, you know, it was making fun of it and making fun and insulting people that were going through it. So there's a lot to go mindfully through that stuff. But I think the last line I wrote, COVID forced us to slow down and take pause, is consistent with what you guys are talking about right here. And it's very important that we use these groups, these people, all of us here together to communicate more often and frequently and with other groups because this is what helps to mitigate the damage that COVID had, the psycho-emotional damage. As you know, that suicide's the highest. I live in Nevada. Nevada has the highest suicide rate of kids from 8 to 18 in the country. So that's one thing to look at. We all know that adults can get depressed as well and commit suicide, but we have the tools to handle. We're all talking about the tools that we have to handle our depression if we feel bad. What about those kids that don't have the tools? And I work in schools and libraries, you know, using music therapies to help with them. And they love that. They love creativity and artistic stuff like that. That's healing for them. And heart math taught me that our toroidal field is 4 feet around the body. So we're in the field, feeding each other's field forever. And then 6-foot social distancing and beyond around the world took us out of our heart fields. And that needs to come back, and it will, but we need to be mindful. And I don't mean to be preaching, but I'm just saying we all need to be mindful of what we have. And I'm impressed with listening to your vocabulary, because at your age, for you to think like what took me another 40 years to learn, you're already got it, you know. And the native people taught me first and last generations are important. We need the wisdom of the elders and the passion and the intelligence of people your age to do it, to come together and create something greater than some of those parts. Aho.
Yeah. Aho. Thank you.
You know, you bring up a really important point. Oh, sorry, Shawna, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is that I think that whether it's bottom up or top down, I think that the bridge is the heart. And I think the more that we can allow our hearts to open and to be vulnerable and to be present with ourselves, that there is where the healing happens. Because what is it that we all want? We all want love. We all want to be heard. We all want the same things. And yet we're desperately afraid of risking our hearts.
Yep. Yeah, that's a beautiful, if I might use it as a segue before our movement. And yeah, thank you. I'll just quickly run through a couple of things of why does an embodied life, why might it help and what might it help? And then we'll move, because, you know, I started with, you know, regulate our nervous system, get grounded before decisions, know ourself, release what doesn't work, use what does, create practices, trust body, intuition, and self more, be aware more in every moment, but also love, compassion to live a more embodied life. You know, we have deeper connection this way to ourself and to others and the globe when we are connecting, listening, when we're feeling, when we're allowing ourselves and others to do that. And it takes, every person should get 12 hugs a day. That's like required. So I was going to try to give self 12 hugs throughout the practice this evening, but we might make that quota. So feel free to catch up afterwards. So before we move, anybody last thoughts here, wisdoms you want to share?
I'll just quickly mention one thing that came up for me. Well, two things. First, the idea of what makes something sacred. I heard this recently, is what? Is that something has to be sacrificed for the thing to be sacred. And I'm thinking that I don't sacrifice something that's not meaningful to me. So sometimes in those moments where I feel I have the most meaningful thing to say or to do, might be the moments for the sacred pause. And I even feel that way, bursting at the seams with excitement, wanting to share based on the conversation tonight. So just continuing to allow myself to pause. And the beautiful thing is it's really, it's not stillness. There's still movement inside the pause. It's a breath, it's a fill. And when Jim, you were sharing about this, the fear, when there's fear present, I think just physiologically speaking, humans or really any animal will contract, you know? And so when fear is so predominant and so present, we're constantly in this state of contraction and we're out of right relationship with the natural pulsation of expanse and contract, the ebb and the flow, the masculine and the feminine, the submissive and the dominant, the yin and the yang, all of the above. And so that's, to me, is like the embodiment practice invites me back into right relationship with both ends of that spectrum. So I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. And thanks, Jocasta, harvesting the pauses. Beautiful. And Karen, you wrote, one of her teachers references it as vibrating silence. Yeah, and I talk about that when we are quote unquote holding a pose in a yoga practice. I remind people that you're not still. Your body might look still from the outside perspective, but most likely you feel otherwise. Like you're most likely experiencing something else that's still moving within you. Yeah, and it's always moving. The winds, or what in yoga we call the vayus. Yeah. So thank you all so much. My plan was to really talk, then move, and then have time for sharing. We won't have time for sharing unless anybody wants to stay an extra couple of minutes afterwards. I'm available and willing to do that. But I think that we'll just have time for the movement experience. So I invite you to sit. If it's available for you to sit on the floor, I invite you to sit on the floor, but you can stay in a chair. That's totally fine as well. If you're in a chair, I invite you to have your feet grounded to the earth. Again, if you want to turn your video off for the movement part, you can, or you can leave it on, whatever your comfort level. And resting your hands to your thighs. Either a low gaze towards the earth or closing the eyelids. And just for a brief moment, come into what might look like to others as a physical stillness in your body, but noticing what's living, breathing, moving within your body. Yes. Oh, I thought somebody said my name. Okay. And taking a couple of slow, really deep breaths. inviting yourself with a sense of welcome into this experience. Allowing your breath to return to its own natural rhythm and just beginning to sway side to side. Whenever you feel a desire of your body to add movement where I might not even call it or cue it out, I invite you to follow your body's wisdom and desires. But keep the swaying motion happening. Breathe as you do so. Notice what you notice. There's no right or wrong way of swaying. It's your sway. How might you complete this sentence as you continue to sway and breathe? Swaying feels to me like. Swaying feels to me like. Swaying helps me feel. How might you finish that? Swaying helps me feel. Swaying reminds me of. How would you finish that sentence? Swaying reminds me of. And then allow your body to come into a calm stillness. Again, physical stillness, but notice what you notice. If you need to move your body in any other way, you want to switch which leg is in front. Again, listen to those desires and those needs. You have a right to feed those needs and desires. And begin to rock forward and back now. Maybe you catch yourself holding your knees when you sway back. And notice your innate rhythm. Does not matter how slow or fast. What feels like a good rhythm for you that's sustainable? And the rhythm might change moment to moment. Forward and back. Forward and back. Rocking. I notice what when I am in this rocking. How would you complete that sentence? I notice blank while I am rocking. Rocking reminds me of. Rocking makes me feel. And in the next couple of moments, arrive in your seat, but then keep arriving, as one of my teachers always said. Keep arriving, which is to just feel what's in this moment, now this moment, and this moment. Keep arriving, which is to experience, to be present, witnessing, participant in your own observations within yourself. This is somatic work. Somatic work is the perception of your body from within. So I invite you to come to stand. Make your way to stand in your own comfortable way and notice that transition. Notice if you stood up right away or if you just chose to take some time somewhere in between. Or maybe you use the handle of the chair or your own thighs to press up. So it's every moment could be opportunity of witnessing or experiencing embodiment, noticing your body. Let your feet stand a little bit wider than hip distance apart and begin to shake your legs. Breathing, soften in your abdomen. Begin to shake your arms And your arms might be low, they might be out, they might go up. Again, listen to wherever your body wants to go and go there. Feel if you can start to shake your whole body. Big, deep breaths. Shaking your head. Keep shaking. Shaking makes me feel, finish that sentence. Shaking feels like. Three more breaths, shaking. And then easeful, come into your own body. What do you feel? Where do you feel it? What does it feel like? Maybe your intuition is to go physically touch and connect. That's perfectly fine. Where do you feel, if anything? How do you feel it? How might you describe it to someone else? All adjectives available. And then let your arms rest down by your sides, feet just grounded. Option to close your eyes, stand easeful. And what does this moment of stillness feel like? Perhaps you're comparing it to the first moment when we were seated, and that's fine. Or noticing just what the stillness feels like now, in and of itself. And then letting your eyes open, bring your feet to meet. If it's available for shoulders and arms, clasp your fingers together and raise your arms towards the sky. So if you need, your arms can stay by your sides. And if the arms are reaching up as best as possible, try to keep the elbows long. So begin to engage in your thighs, create some strength in your core muscles around your navel. And just moving as you exhale, bend to your right. So I'm mirroring you. And as you inhale, come back up to center. And we're going to do this a couple more times. Exhaling, moving into the right waist. Inhaling, coming to stand. Exhale, go at your own pace with your breath and inhaling to come up. So we'll do it twice more, moving. Maybe you feel like you're going a little deeper into the side bend, that the body is starting to move and explore and adapt. So the next time you go into the side bend, breathe there and stay there with strong legs, a strong core, whether your arms are extended or by your sides, and breathe. Keep breathing, option to close the eyes, and engage with this moment. What's present right here for you right now? What do you feel in your body? What do you feel otherwise? Is there an emotion, a thought, color, image, anything? Just breathe to feel. And feel if you feel stretch physically, but you're still able to just be in it. Engage with this moment, breathe. Keep breathing. And if ever the moment arises that you know you need to come out, listen to that moment. That's the building of trust of body, wisdom, and intuition. In the next 2 breaths, do inhale to rise up and exhale, soften. Notice what you notice here, the after effects. After that event, but still you're present in this moment, witnessing them or it, or whatever might be or might not be. And again, there's no one way of being. And if you need to shake out your legs between sides, you're welcome to, especially if you witnessed a stuck energy in your feet or legs, like you needed to make a shift. So again, observing. And I feel like the rewiring of the brain is what I'm reminded of here, is like sometimes we get stuck in a groove. We're almost trained to like, oh, I know I'm going to do the other side. I can't move. No, you can. right? Listening to that desire. So bringing feet together, either arms by your sides or again, beyond the crown of the head, all fingers clasped. Take in a breath, some strength in your thighs, some strength in your navel. And as you exhale, side bend into your left waist and inhale, come right up to center. Exhaling, moving into the side waist, legs stay strong, and inhaling, coming up to center. We'll do it a couple more rounds, about 3. And I invite you to explore the depth of ability that you have in your body to go into that side bend. The next time you move into that side bend, go into the depth where it's just enough. It's not too much, but it's not too little. There's an energetic challenge. There's a physicality of challenge. You're right at that edge, but you're breathing and you're able to be there with the edge. You're noticing, witnessing, feeling, experiencing. Engage there, breathe, notice what you notice. What's arising, what is. Take just a couple more breaths. Again, noticing when you need to come out. Or if you have a couple more breaths, are things changing? Are they shifting as you keep engaging with each moment? And in the next 2 breaths, do rise up. Use an inhale to come up and an exhale to soften. And notice what you notice here after. So support yourself throughout the journey. If you ever need to sit or lie down or rest, listen to that need as well. So with feet a little wider than hip distance apart, toes pointed forward, create a little softness in your knees, a little bit of strength around your navel, and release chin towards chest. And breathe right there. Option to close the eyes. In your next exhale, fold at your heart space and pause there, a sacred pause. How does this posture feel? Again, as much bend in the knees as you might need, some strength around your navel, and then fold at your waist. Let your head release, your neck release as best you can. Let your shoulders release, your arms heavy. Notice what you notice here. Maybe this posture actually feels like it takes a little bit more effort than the fold at the heart, maybe vice versa. And then fold down into whatever the depth of your standing forward fold is. And I invite you to catch hold of your elbows and your fingertips, still as much bend in your knees as you might need, and some strength in your navel. And just breathe into that forward fold for a couple of breaths. Maybe you feel the desire to sway your hips side to side, or just stay center, but nod your head yes. And then do find center and begin to strengthen just your thighs. Keep the navel firm, but release the neck. Keep hold of your elbows and your fingertips, but release the shoulders. And make sure that you feel some weight in your toe ball mounds like you feel in your heels. And then inhale, bend your knees, release your hands, walk your hands forward so you can lower one knee to the earth and then the other. And we're going to come to lie on our backs. So if you want to support under your head, that's totally fine and optional. And let your knees be bent. Set your feet a little wider apart than your hips and let your knees rest in upon each other. Opening your arms out wide upon the earth, palms open towards the sky. Option to close your eyes here. Feel that your arms are just heart height. And notice what it feels like to be lying back on the earth support. What it feels like to be lying in the cradle of Earth's arms. What does it feel like in your own body to have your arms open wide, chest wide, revealing that heart space? Begin to curl your fingers into your palms and then curl your wrists in and start to bend your elbows and then slide open palms with open hands across your own chest, sliding your arms around your body. Hands below the shoulders, wrapped around the heart sides. And then inhale, start to unwrap the arms. Sliding hands across your chest, opening arms, unfurling like ferns unfolding. And then start to curl in again. If you can, set and move the opposite arm on top this time. Give yourself a little squeeze as you hug, and then start to open your arms out. And you might do this seated in a chair if you prefer or need, and you can just open your arms out wide when you breathe in. And exhale, bringing the arms in, giving yourself that hug. And we'll do this once more. Inhale, opening wide. Exhale, coiling into the hug, and stay in the hug this time. Stay in the embrace. Embrace the moment and squeeze, and keep squeezing and squeezing. Keep squeezing. Notice what you notice. What comes up? What's present? Just engage with what is. Be present for it and for yourselves. Keep squeezing, keep hugging. Only a few more breaths. And then slowly release your shoulders. Let your hands glide across your own body. And maybe you leave your hands there upon your own self. Or maybe the arms open wide felt really good for you. Wherever you want to put your arms, place them there and allow your arms to rest. And for these last few moments, I do invite you to close your eyes, to keep allowing your body to rest, allowing your body and your breath to slow, to calm. And in these last few moments, think back to the last movements that you did, this embodied experience, all the movements. Anything and everything that may have come up for you. And how might you attribute any of it to your current life situation? How might you correlate it to your life now? So here's where you have option to continue to rest, to inquiry within. You have the option to go to the pen, pencil, and paper that I invited you to have at the beginning. And maybe you journal or write. Trust and know that anything of great importance will come back to you. Even if you can't remember a certain part of the experience, it'll come back because it's in your body now. So I just left you with a couple of options, but to feel a sense of completion, I also invite you back into the circle space. And just saying, thank you so much. Thank you. I see the chat. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. And thank you for the Co-Creators Convergence to make these Thursday nights with incredible people happen. And definitely, as I said at the beginning, if my friends who are here tonight, if you want me to name you as next Thursday or 2 Thursdays, 2 months Thursdays from now, let me know. And like I said, I'll stay here for a moment if anybody wants to share part of what you received from that experience, if any insights or inquiries, or just want to say what happened for you. And thank you for the extra time. So if you have to go, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thank
Shawna,
you,
thank
Ramona and
you so
Elisa.
much. I want to take like 1.5 minutes to say something if anybody does need to go. And then if you do want to stay on, I'm here keeping the room open to give your feedback to Shawna. We're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. Thank you all for being here and doing this tonight. Very lovely conversation and movement. Thank you so much. Beautiful offering, Shawna. It helped me very much to return. Absolutely beautiful. I always love how you lead the moments with your words. So beautiful, Shawna. Thank you for sharing your wonderful gift with us. Many blessings to everyone. Thank you. Blessings to all. Yes. And thank you so much. Let's keep in touch, Shawna. Children are awaiting. So we always appreciate when people can stay on. I did want to add that earlier it was written that by Bob and Noel, how much this younger generation is here with Co-Creators Convergence, sharing your wise gifts. And we're so grateful for that. Thank you. And I do open up your mics if you would like to give some feedback. Shawna, that was such a beautiful experience to be asking those questions for reflections, how am I feeling? And I do want to say give one other plug, because Shawna, I hope you'll show up here, and any of you, if you check out worldunityweek.org, worldunityweek.org, that is happening in June. And all of you can offer, Shawna, you could offer this movement piece that you're doing. So worldunityweek.org, or you can contact me for any other questions about how to get involved with that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm interested. I'll email you.
Yeah. So anybody want to ask or share through what Shawna was leading us through?
Yeah, I will. That was beautiful. I love the questions, and I love the words to go into the way that you led us through the movement, and giving us permission, or giving ourselves permission to hang out in those places that might be uncomfortable to be in, and to be with it as much as we were able to, which was really beautiful. Yeah. It reminded me that I need to stretch more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to do more yoga.
Yeah.
I'll just say a quick thank you to Shawna. And
thank you.
People enjoyed being in spaces with Shawna, know that she offers her classes online, and her and I co-collaborate on a an online monthly immersion. So if this kind of conversation resonates with you, we've tried to really intentionally form a community online so people can have a resource to connect to their bodies, to connect to their minds, and to connect with one another in community. So we do Journey to the Peak each month, and it's more or less kind of what we got to experience tonight. So don't hesitate to reach out if any of that feels resonant for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Shawna.
saying that, Patrick. And that we do really have, there's a type of style of yoga for everyone. So I do gentle restorative, he does yin, I do vinyasa, he does hatha. So, and we do a co-taught class on Sunday mornings where we lead with a Dharma discussion.
And I definitely want
you.
to, the embodiment in my body is so emotional to share this, but thanks to Patrick and Shawna and this, their yoga and their songs, I did some incredibly deep emotional healing last year. And so I am so grateful. Obviously, I have an affinity to Patrick Heffernan. I mean, he's my son. However, you know, doesn't mean that I need to choose him to do healing work with. And after last year, I had such a change. And every time Shawna came on and spoke during yoga class, it was completely divinely aligned with what I was going through. And so I've continued the journey with them. And Patrick has a year-long program that started last week, and Journey to You. It's these habits that heal, Dinacharya, that I am embarking on as well. So thank you, Shawna. Yeah, and Patrick out there.
Great.
And someone, let's see, there's one more chat here. Elisa wrote, healing just to be here. Lovely to see everyone. And thank you again, Shawna. Good night.
Thank you, Elisa.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was just, it was perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect,
thank you, Linda.
perfect,
And thanks for all your great shares. And thank you for your art therapy work.
Join us next week, May 20th, when Mandy Sok will walk us through the question, what is your identity if you are not your name? We look forward to the conversation with all of you.